You and I know each other from the world of TV home shopping, but a lot of people recognize you as a TV fashion authority. So you've actually got a wide range of on-air options. I want to talk a little bit about first how you got into the world of live selling.
I got into it really randomly where I had been the CMO of a startup company that was in the beauty business. And so I ended up sort of doing their dog and pony show, going to, local TV stations and talking about the brand and the product. And that's sort of how I literally fell into the world of traditional broadcast. And then through some of my connections, I literally was having a conversation with a woman, I'll say it like this woman, Linda, and she said to me, you'd be great on the shopping channel. And I was like, I would love to do that. I just think it'd be the coolest thing ever. And lo and behold, I ended up getting a phone call from someone that I now consider a really good friend, but at the time I didn't know her. And she said, hey, it's Michelle from the shopping channel, and we got your video. And I literally, when she called me, I thought I won like a dishwasher. Like I didn't know what was going on. I was a host for 3 years at TSC and had my own show at TSC. And you get to help bring these stories to life in a way that's really exciting for the consumer. And I think that piece of advocacy is something that really resonated with me as well. And I feel like Dawn, you know this, but like I also have a background as a lawyer. So part of me, that advocacy element really appeals to me. And so you're really that person who's their eyes, their ears, their sense of smell, their sense of touch, and you're helping them make a decision. And obviously I take that on with a great sense of responsibility. And so I think that all of those things, the combined element of marketing, advocacy, and then just performance is something that like checked so many boxes for me. So yeah, that's how I fell into this. Literally fell.
Well, and talking about that advocacy, and I mentioned this, and it's actually a whole module in my Learn the HSH Method of Live Selling course. We talk about the key components of authenticity, and is that honesty, that transparency, that not every product can possibly be for every single person. So I'm curious, how do you navigate perhaps when things are not necessarily for you, but you believe they could be for someone else? How do you navigate the whole, not for me, and yet still understanding that, gosh, you do have to make some sales. This is part of what your job is too, right?
I have a very hard time. I think it's actually sometimes I'm amazed that I get to go and talk on television because I have the habit, like I say what's on my mind. That's sort of who I am as a person. And so I really struggled for a while when I was looking at a product and I'd be like, this doesn't resonate for me in my home or in my lifestyle or, given the responsibilities that I have in my day-to-day life. And I remember actually chatting with like a media trainer that we worked with, and a piece of advice that I was given, which I thought was really a beautiful piece of advice. And it really rings true for anyone who's in, you know, any kind of storytelling, whether it's marketing or content or live selling, is the idea of empathy and putting yourself in someone else's shoes. That pair of shoes may not be the ones that I would wear. Someone out there would love to know the elements of this pair of shoes that's really positive. Someone out there would love to know the value that you're getting in these shoes because it appeals to them by virtue of their personality and their personal style or their personal circumstances. So I think a lot of the time, one of the things that sets somebody who's really successful apart on air or in live selling is that ability to channel that empathy and channel that, hey, it's not for me personally, but this isn't about me. This is about the person at home who I'm here for and who I'm going to articulate and show the benefits, the features of this garment, technology, whatever it is, such that they can learn about it and see whether or not it's for them because their instinct is it is. And the easiest way for me to articulate this is, I say this to my 5-year-old, don't yuck someone else's yum. And I feel like that is one of the best ways to look at it is it may not be for you, but someone out there, like I hate coconut, but someone out there loves it. So I can still describe it as if I were them and help them make that decision.
Ultimately, we are the conduit toward providing information that helps someone make a really good decision. I know there's lots of people watching right now, maybe taking my course, maybe already have all the skills it takes. They want to know, what does it take to get on a roster like that? What are you looking for in live selling talent?
From an entrepreneurial standpoint, and I'm working with clients, which are brands, I think it's about their messaging and who they want to represent. So obviously, elements of diversity, of interest, of expertise is always a really great thing to present to somebody who's looking for talent. Becoming as knowledgeable as you can in whatever period of time you're allotted is really wonderful as a host. They're also there to help keep that show on track and moving and organized. And so it requires someone that has skills to multitask, because you are multitasking perpetually, especially during live. And so all of these things require somebody who can sort of say, I can keep track of these things and still keep that energy and that personality up. But you can get a sense pretty quickly when you're talking to someone who gets excited about being on camera, excited about products, excited about and takes on that responsibility with gusto and with a sense of how much there is in terms of responsibility. I don't think it hurts to be an expert in something. As you mentioned, like I appear on Global's national morning show as an expert in fashion and lifestyle. That makes it really easy for a fashion brand to say, hey, go on and be an expert in fashion. I've had my own beauty show, so that makes it really easy for me to go on and talk about beauty with a semblance of authority. I'm not a chemist nor am I a creator, but I can speak to it intelligently. Knowing your stuff, great. And presenting yourself as some having some interests that are tangible, point toable, so that you can say, yeah, I may not be the person you're going to hire to sell, I don't know, blenders, but I'm definitely, if you want me to go on, I can speak intelligently. You won't have to brief me. I'll know what an inseam is and what a hem is and what a whip stitch is and all the things, because I know that in my background. And I think that's a really great sort of selling feature. I love using all this selling language, but a selling feature for somebody who wants to run a show. And then obviously somebody who knows the space. So somebody who's watched live selling. There's been a lot of instances with influencers or social media personalities being asked to go on and live sell, and it sort of maybe doesn't feel as comfortable or easy. And I think that the person watching or viewing or shopping along with you can sense that. So, watching other people who do it, and people that have done that, you can tell.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I've got this whole formula, 8-step formula to successful live selling, and we talk about obviously the key components of that authenticity and a whole module on how to actually prepare for a show, because you cannot prepare enough. Do you need to be the chemist for a skincare company? No, but you need to understand basic concepts. And so I talk very in depth about niche knowledge and then brand knowledge. And it's the whole, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. And you do have to sort of keep things on track as a live selling host. And so understanding what a typical run of show might be, even if it's handed to you, but also in the case where you're going to receive it, and then you've got to translate it into your own language. Because when you're live, you're live. And we're seeing also a real popular trend towards shoppable video, as Lisa, in your business as well, even on linear broadcast. I think I was watching Entertainment Tonight, the American version, and they've got this whole segment on essentially shoppable video. So we're seeing sponsored shoppable content on linear. So the trend is there. It's absolutely front of mind in the future. We're certainly not to the level, as in your business as well, that China is, but we're going to be in that space, I believe, Lisa, that if you are ready, then you will be ready for it.
One of the things that I think, people should do is try and go live. Just try and go live somewhere. Whether it's live on a social media platform that you're on or in a discussion with someone else, it's a great way to sort of warm up, get a sense of it. Somebody who's already sort of in the space and wants to make their way, onto a platform or wants to make their way into a brand sort of ether to work for them. I think knowing the brand, understanding the space, learning from experts like you. And then I really think for brands and for, companies that are thinking of it, it's a matter of understanding that everything new is new. And so it's one of those things that I try and explain by pointing to past innovations that were like they were unfathomable before we got there, right? Like the idea of us all being on a platform where we were going to share images and now we share videos. Like when Instagram came out, like we didn't even think of that, right? And now we're sharing videos that are taggable, that are linkable, that where we can list products. So you have to, every time there's something new, there's always, and I reach this all the time, especially when we're talking about marketing budgets and we're talking about, people saying, okay, well, I know where I put my money and I know where that goes. And you want me to try something totally different. Um, those different things are the things that are going to put you on the cutting edge. Those different things are the things that are going to set you apart. And I think it's the willingness to take risk and to fail and fail fast. And that goes for people that want to be participants in the show, and that goes for brands that want to create the show. The only way that you're going to learn is by doing. And I think you have to forgive that a little bit and try. And I think it's the willingness to take risk and to fail and fail fast. And that goes for people that want to be participants in the show, and that goes for brands that want to create the show. The only way that you're going to learn is by doing. And I think you have to forgive that a little bit and try, because goodness knows, Dawn, when I walked into our audition at TSC and Lauren Sidney told me to sell my ring as a ring that cures arthritis, I guarantee you I had no preparation for that. And so, and I didn't say, oh gosh, I don't know this. This isn't what I've ever done. I can't do this. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try. And so long as you're trying and learning and trying your best, don't get me wrong, I think that you're going to end up being the person that discovers, that changes, that helps push things in different directions that other people wouldn't, because they're too afraid or they're too used to the things that they're used to, frankly.
You have to be nimble. I mean, and these are great life lessons as well. And I believe fully that the skills we learn as live sellers and that we hone that skill, because it's something we can learn. I mean, you can't teach authenticity, but you can help someone bring out their authenticity. I mean, we're all authentic. We might be a total jerk, but we're authentically a jerk. And if that's what your jam is, if that's your personality that a brand is hired because they like that controversy, that's fine too. No one is asking anyone to change. But the skills that we learn as live sellers, I believe, fully carry in to real life.
I couldn't agree more. And I also think the idea of like being yourself and being authentic, it's often incongruous with the idea of selling. And I think that that's sort of, I think part of that is like that old sort of image of like, the door-to-door salesman, or like, that like sort of cliche. But selling is something that's happening to us all the time, right? Whether you walk into a store, whether you're having an experience with a salesperson, whether you're watching a commercial, whether you're watching a show, that's all being sold to us. And I think the idea is it's communication, right? And the clearer the communication, the more real it feels, the more it resonates. And so it's not like you can't sell something. Of course you can, but the idea is not to cloud the message or cloud the experience with a whole bunch of like this, and that authenticity, even if there is this, it has to shine through. And so some people get in front of a camera, and this is specific to the people who are, training, interested, whatever, they'll get in front of the camera and they're like, they turn into this whole other person. And it's like, you need to make sure that you're dialed into yourself. And that's where the preparation to me is key, because you can't feel comfortable if you're not prepared. I think that's where understanding the space is key, because you can't feel comfortable if you don't really understand what's happening. And I think that's where understanding the brand and the brand messaging is key, because if you know that cold, you're not searching for it, and you're not dialed into who you are. And so I think all of those things help make sure that that person stays in the moment, stays in who they are. And in the end, it also makes for a better sell.
Of course. And the more you know the brand and all of that background information, it always gives you something to draw from as well. And you're right, when you're not searching for that kind of information, you can focus on just being yourself and not the whole fake it till I make it, because there's no faking it. I mean, you can definitely be nimble, but the more you know, the more you prepare, better the experience will be, not only for yourself as a host, but certainly the customer and the brand who you work with as well. Lisa, always a pleasure working with you. For anyone that wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way? On Insta, on websites? What do you prefer?
I mean, definitely Instagram. You can always reach out. I think you can head to shopsquad.ca. You can always find me on Global's National Morning Show. But yeah, Instagram is always a great one. I'm always checking, and you can find me on TikTok, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on everywhere you want to find me. Elkis style. It's LKISSTYLE.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Dawn.